and welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller along with Otto Los, and now, of course, the wonderful Kristina Lou. We're in our Talk of the Town segment. And just before we get into it, Kristina, another incredible guest. That went so fast, and I was afraid that it was going to be, I want to say almost gloomy, the topic, but it wasn't. It was like the opposite. It was, really, really made me think. And there were so many things that came to mind and how to sell. It's like, celebrating your life, your entire life and sharing it. And, it was kind of, that like a celebratory
Yeah,
thing.
and
Like I said.
it's one of my things, because, and I've mentioned it a bazillion times before on the show, when my grandpa's like last year, he couldn't go anywhere, and he was a photographer, and I would sit there and we would go through his slides, and then I would have them converted digitally and then make like a slideshow thing. And it became a weekly project for us. And when she was talking about it, that's what I think this is so special, because it's not only a legacy to, now I have those videos. So the fact that it's passed down to me, but for him, it gave him something to look forward to and plan, every
Right.
week. So when I wasn't there, he'd be, looking through, slides and say, okay, like this one, and then so it gave, on both sides. I think that's what makes it so special. It's beneficial for the person creating the legacy, and then the people who are receiving it, is just is really incredible. And I like that you can kind of do like it in different ways, whatever
Right.
kind of fits for you. It's not everyone. Yes, it's a beautiful to have like this, finished book, but I even like what, Susan said to Otto, even having something, just compiling things, because I get it could be overwhelming, for some people, but it's so important, because I think we all have someone in our lives that we wish like we could ask them something, or and then they're not here anymore. So to be able to have these little stories that you might not have known is so special.
Well, it gives the person like your grandfather, it gives them purpose. It gives them a reason to be here.
Yeah, and
You
because
know,
it's like
Right.
and I remember with him, like he couldn't, like at that point he couldn't walk around really, or couldn't leave the house, so he's sitting home all day. And the joke about my grandpa is, like his, he loved his grandchildren and his family, obviously, but his whole identity was being a photographer. So he would just talk about that in his stories, and I mean it was a wonderful, life. And he just, so, and to do that, it just stimulated all these memories, and it was fun. And he loved, to sit there and just watch, these slideshows that would just show, and he would show all the aides, which they were probably tortured towards the end. They probably saw it a bazillion times. But his aides, he would make them sit down and watch these, photographs, and then it would get him talking to them. So it was like something, yes. And listen, it it took a lot of time, but there's different things that can certainly be done, and I think it's just so important. And I
And
love
look how you honored him too with an exhibit. You
yeah.
you got it. You got him,
Mhm.
and you like shined a light on, what was so important to him, aside from his grandchildren, of
Yeah,
course, his photography.
yeah,
So that was really a
yeah.
you
beautiful
said
honor.
it. You said the words. It took a lot of time,
Mhm,
but then the question is, well, okay, what are you doing with your time
mhm.
if you're not doing that?
Yeah,
You know, and you got to judge. Are you just wasting your time,
mhm.
uh,
Yeah,
or can
absolutely.
you do something positive with your time?
No,
Uh,
and it's something, and I think, for people, like, listen, not to my own horn, but not everyone has a granddaughter like myself who sat with them. But,
that's
like,
true, but
but I
I'm
think
lucky to
that,
have a few.
I just, the simple things of jotting down, Otto, like what you were saying, like to jot down like a hodgepodge of a thought or a story, that pops in your head is so special. And I even like, the concept of having a little recording device, and something pops in and be like, oh, here's this story. I mean, I even know with myself, and we're talking like any age, like, you'll look back and remember something. And I think it's just cool. And it doesn't take that much effort to, record it. And then by you'll have so many, as the years come, just have a whole story of, your stories, which is just, I think it's just so special. And especially around the holidays. I mean, listen, I'm a sucker for a creative legacy kind of project. And I just think it's a really nice thing. And clearly my social media has me pegged, because I endlessly, no matter what kind of social media app I am on, I get an ad for this book, and I forget what the company's name is, but it's a prompt is sent to you every day. And they were, telling people to get it for their family. So, one day you'll have a prompt, and then you fill it out, and then at the end they put together this book for you and give it to you. And I was like, oh, that's so great, because you're just sitting, and it was, of course, all these grandparents, and they were getting, and I was like, that is such a wonderful gift to give someone, because this way you're just getting the thing, you fill it out, and then you get a great book at the end.
So Kristina, because you do so much of, social media, pictures and things, because when I first met Kristina, she was a scrapbooker. I mean, every event, and it's a very timely thing. It's when you celebrate someone's birthday, sometimes you would put a scrapbook together. I mean, you always have pictures. So has that kind of slowed down for you now?
Well, you know what it is? The only reason it slowed down is for the fact that, like, I don't live in a ginormous house, and I'm running out of space to store those things. But that, listen, there is nothing still more beautiful than like a handmade kind of situation.
Absolutely.
So I still will, I'm a big fan of that. And but I'm a fan of it all, right? So that's my problem in life. I like it all. Because, I even like, the computer books that you can make, now on all these different services, because they're beautiful, they're really durable too, and they're so thin. Every year we go on a family vacation to Montauk, and so I've been making my mom each year, an album of that. So in this way, and they're so thin, so they're easy to store. And it looks more like a book, so I mean, the scrapbooks are cool, but when I put the stickers in, they're like gigantic. So I like to do a little bit of it all, nothing, depending on what the project calls for, is really,
for about 10 years, I did what you're talking about. I would try to regroup like the top 300 or 400 pictures for the year and put them in. Then it was like Shutterfly.
Yes, right.
In a book. But to be honest about it, the number of pictures
I know
became
so
overwhelming that I just gave it up, to be honest about it.
I totally
couldn't
feel
do
the
it
same.
anymore. But we do have about 10 books with different years.
Yeah.
But it just got to the point where
it's over, because you're right. Because I
lifetime project pulling all these pictures together.
It is,
and that's a danger, by the way, that I brought up a number of times, is that there are so many pictures now that you go to one event and there's 60 pictures. All right. Of the 60, there's probably 3 that are really, really good. But it takes so much time to go through all these pictures.
I know, because when you're at a gathering, figure everyone's taking pictures. Right. And it's just, so it's not even like it's just like one person, it took me for a very long time, and my friends still make fun of me to this day. I was the queen of, I loved a disposable camera because I liked like the hidden aspect of it. The fact that, you had no idea what was on that camera until it was developed. And, half of the time it could be terrible, blurry photos, but there was still something nostalgic. And, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go over to the digital camera when it came out. And I was probably in like high school, I think, when the digital, towards the end of high school. And I was always the girl traveling around with her, digital camera. And, that to me was my favorite thing. And it just seemed like, oh my God, I could take so many pictures. Then forget it. Then we go into there's a couple little things in between. But when the iPhone hit, I mean, it's just too much, because I literally never just have, 2 pictures of it. It's like, there's my nieces and nephews. It's like there'll be 10,000 versions of the same pose, because you're just sitting there, rapid snapping. So I totally understand, Otto.
Well, but think about how valuable, like I have a couple of pictures of my great grandmother, a black and white picture, like a portrait kind of thing. Those little 1 or 2 pictures that you have that go back to that time frame, when people didn't take pictures,
absolutely,
they really become very valuable, because it's like that's it, as opposed to 10,000 pictures.
I know.
with the same person.
I know it's tough,
And
and I
I'm
know
not
that
knocking
logically,
it.
but it's
I'm not knocking it.
unavoidable.
I'm just saying of the positive, it becomes a negative in a
Yeah.
sense that it's very difficult to really call out. Be real. How many people are going to ever be able to go through all the pictures?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
I know.
You don't have enough time in your life to go through all
You
the
know what I've
pictures.
learned, to really enjoy, and like I said, I'll use it, and
Well,
that's
you
what I like.
enjoy the moment.
But what I like about like an Instagram kind of thing, like so if there's a special event or something that went on, and to just kind of post, those 10 photos, you're only allowed like 10 photos, like kind of gives you in itself its own like albums. So like you have like this highlight reel of like things that were like positive, happy experiences in your life that you took pictures of, because I'm constantly making things for people, and as more pictures, time goes on, we have so many, that's like a great place for me always to look, because I'm like, okay, I can get like the highlights, and that's usually like the best picture. So time has been spent that you're like, all right, this is like the best picture to do. That's what I do with my Christmas cards. I'll go
Well,
through and be like, all right, let me look for me and Jay, like, things that happened this year. And
well, you're an Instagram guru, all right. The
oh, thank
problem
you.
I have with Instagram, as opposed to some of the other things, is the difficulty of trying to save a picture.
Yes,
You can't.
true.
And whereas, like on Facebook, I
Right, it's
would pick a
easier.
couple of them off. The family uses Snapchat.
Yeah,
You can save it to the camera roll.
you're right.
You can't do that with Instagram.
You're right.
So these pictures just they're
Well,
gone.
that's why whatever I put on Instagram, I put on Facebook. So, I have both my bases covered. So,
Hence
yeah,
Instagram. It's
yeah,
just in the
yeah,
moment. It's
that's it.
instant. And then
Like
that's the whole,
Yeah, but I
Insta.
like to save the moment
Yeah,
sometimes.
no,
but
I
that's
totally,
not the, that's
yeah,
not what this social media site is.
right.
It was kind of, I think, one of the themes behind it were, so that it doesn't last forever, because like Facebook, everything you put up there, it's, you got to go in, you got to find it. If you don't want it, you got to delete it, that kind of a thing, or some of the other media. So this one kind of, I think, gives you the opportunity. But I do see a lot of things like on my son's Instagram, some of the shows he's done, they're still
Yeah, so
on there.
there's two different like things you can do, because then there's the Instagram story that just is up for 24 hours. But
Right,
what
right.
I have set is that like anything I post on my story saves to my camera roll, because I there's some gems that I want to save. And then then there's your wall, so that's
Right,
there
right.
forever,
The
like
wall. Okay.
until you delete it, obviously. So there's different, but like, and that's what I think, from someone who's my whole life, has been about like capturing moments through pictures in whatever kind of way it is. Clearly, I mean, my grandpa was Photography, it all goes back to
Right.
Picasso. And it's just, I think it's cool though to kind of, on the positive side, have these digital kind of photo albums that you're able to look up and see, what, and I like, I like that component, or like, on Facebook, there is that option, to like click on your friend and it say see friendship, and then there'll be like pictures that'll be narrowed down between the two
Right.
of you. So I'll go to that a lot of times when I'm making something for someone. My aunt just turned 70 yesterday, so happy 70th birthday to my aunt Susan.
Happy birthday, Susan.
But I was doing a lot of like looking through that, because we're making her, a montage thing for her birthday. So my cousin was
Well,
like,
think about how many of those moments you'll have when you get to be my age.
I could imagine.
How many books are you going to have?
But I
You know
mean,
what
this
it
is like
comes down to?
the digital.
Seriously, you have to really consider now some kind of a system that enables you to search and look up and organize now from the past
Yeah.
and the future so that people could look up events and whatever. I know it sounds like,
There is a
No.
way to do that on iPhone, though. You
Yeah.
can, if you can label it, you
Yes.
can search like pictures based on, if I put in the word Farmingdale,
Yep.
any pictures that I took in Farmingdale will come up,
Yeah.
or a date or a person's name, but there has to be some way to
Right.
associate.
It's not, I mean, it's not 100% spot on, but
Right,
I
right.
use that feature all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm surprised there's so much that actually goes into these phones, and I know like the basics, but you really can dive in, and there's actually some really cool little things that you can do, and I'm sure you could do it on non-iPhone
Yeah,
smartphones
yeah,
as well too.
yeah.
But It is, and I think it's important to think about it. And it makes me happy, because I know for myself, like looking at this when I was doing that for my aunt, recently, and I was going through, but it was actually beneficial to be able to go to, all my different cousins' Facebooks and see what pictures they had of her. And then I was just kind of compiling everything. It certainly makes it easier, when it is on these digital kind of things, because back in the day, I'd be like, oh, I'd be taking pictures of my scrapbooks, to give people. So it's good. And I think it's a nice time around the holidays, when we're always trying to think of different gifts to give. And, people spend so much money on things, and I'm guilty of it myself, but I think there is no greater treasure than some kind of personal, gift, whatever it might be, especially, for your family. So
Yeah.
really great stuff.
Really good stuff. I mean, we're almost at the end of the segment. So we do have a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about. I know Otto wanted to share a recent story about himself.
Yes.
And I think, we'll start that off after,
yes. And
after
before
this, but we still have a few minutes.
Yes, we do. And I want to, Otto, you missed last week. But Beck and I were talking about, the holidays, and my mom got me an advent calendar, this theme, because we always have a special one. And it was a jar full of little mindfulness a day. So today, guys, I had to share with you, I got the breathe and relax one.
Really?
And it's essentially all about, the different, how to breathe, which is what we talk about all the time. And it was just a great reminder. So I'm going to send it out to our staff today.
Well, what a perfect time to take a break. Breathe and relax. Take time for yourself. We will be right back with Project Independence, Talk of the Town on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Look forward to another 2 segments. We'll be right back.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast, and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio, Talk of the Town segment now with Kristina Liu, our radio show producer, and also Otto Los, our co-host. It was such a great first 3 segments with Susan, who is a end-of-life doula, and I mean, I think we could have probably kept her on and kept going, but it's also good the positive is you can have this living legacy too, and kind of, work it yourself. And I loved how I like the one thing she said that I thought was so key too, is writing letters to like the younger people in your life and shining a light on their strengths and, what you see for them, how you would, it really could be life-changing for that person. But, Otto, where have you been? I know you have a little bit of a story for us.
I do. The story is actually a positive. And I think one of a learning experience, if you will. It has to do with health. As you know, from conversations, I like to walk. And I would say probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I started when I walked, after about 5 minutes, I would feel a very, very slight tightness in my chest. Very slight. And then sometimes it would go away. Sometimes it didn't go away, but I would keep walking. And I thought, yeah, I had heard from a doctor in the past that some of that's normal, when you first start walking. So I didn't think a lot about it. But then I had an appointment with my internist, and I make a list like I preach. And on the list, I said something about slight tightness in the chest. I figured I better bring it up. So I bring it up, and my internist says to me, she says, I think you haven't been to a cardiologist in about 5 years. I've had EKGs and all of that kind of business all the time. She says, I think you should go to a cardiologist. So I go to the cardiologist and we go through the EKG and whatever, the EEG and whatever, and they really don't show anything. Um, but then he says, well, let's do one more thing. We'll do a nuclear stress test. All right.
Mhm.
So a nuclear stress test is all of a sudden you see what goes on in here in color on television. And he says to me, you have two blockages. And he says, looks like one of them's about 95%. And the other one looks like it was to the point where you had so much calcification in there a long time ago that your heart, your body actually built a couple of passageways right around it. So he said, that one we're probably not going to touch at this point in time. And so he says, you should go in for an angiogram. At this point, they didn't know it was 95%. So he says, you should go in for an angiogram where they go in through either your wrist or your groin with this stuff, and they're able to see whether you have a blockage or not. So yeah, lo and behold, I find I do have a blockage in a major artery. It's 95% blocked. Now, I have this image among people being the big healthy guy, walks all the time, not overweight, the whole thing. But it turns out that the big healthy guy had a major artery blockage that the guy said the next step would have been a major heart attack, probably a killer. All right. And, my point in telling this is I'm not looking for sympathy or anything. I'm saying if you know your own body, all right, if there is anything that you feel is a little bit different, open your mouth and talk to your doctor. Had I not done that and talked to my internist about it and followed through, like what I learned too is like you do an EKG, whatever. For whatever reason, that never showed that I had blockages. I guess that's the nature of the test. So you assume you're good, nothing's a problem. But no, not the case. Uh, you know, so point being, I'm a very lucky man, in that it was discovered before it became an issue. I had a stent put in, which became unfortunately a bigger deal because there's, most people they're out of there in 4 or 5 hours. I had a little bit of a bleeding issue, so they had to put a lot of pressure on to keep the artery, from bleeding, which beat me up pretty bad as far as black and blue goes and whatnot. So what, I was able to, now this is 3 weeks ago. What's today? Yeah, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago today. I'm fully functioning. I played golf yesterday, walking, talking, doing whatever I want to do. Slightly sore, but no big deal. Point, very strong point. If you feel anything a little off, say something. You're the one who knows your body.
Yeah, Otto, I think like that is just so important, and all the different doctors and stuff, topics that we've had on the show, that's always a common theme is that, it's just about paying attention to your own self. Because sometimes it might not be anything or whatever, but it's nobody knows, your body, better than yourself. And I think it's important to kind of keep those little things in check. And you are, the example of, someone who is active. I mean, I think anytime we talk about you to anyone, we say, oh my God, I'm so active, he's so healthy, and these things happen. And I think it's just so important that you do that. And I have to give a special thank you because when my friend Otto called me to tell me this, he certainly knows me so well, because he starts off the conversation, everything is fine, I'm totally good, and now I'm going to tell you the story. So I like that he gave me the end result. And then we worked our way to the story because I like that you guys all know, Dan has done that to me too. He said, listen, everything is fine, but let me give you the back history. So I like that. I have to give a special thank you.
Well, recently this week, there was something about a guy who was an Ironman. He was in one of those Ironman contests, and he ended up with a heart attack, which he's gone. So it doesn't matter, how physically fit you think you are. Um, Stuff goes on in
Yeah,
here.
there's other factors,
You're
right?
Hey,
walking around.
I had an experience in
You did too.
2018 that I was at the gym and I would just notice that no matter what I did, my heart rate would jump up to 200 beats
Whoa.
immediately. I would be, and it was a rough year. I had a
Yeah.
very difficult year. I lost my father and an aunt and my cousin. It was just like just kind of like what Susan explained. It was just so much loss. And over the years, I had noticed that occasionally when I was working out, my heart rate would go up and I would stop and it would take a while to come down and then it wouldn't happen again for like, months. But this year, it just started to happen more frequently. Like I couldn't eat. I had to leave the gym, and I just said, you know what? I've always gone to the gym. I have like, an athlete's heart rate. This was, almost 5 years ago. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to run over to urgent care to see what's going on because like you, Otto, it's just I said, this is not right. Like I can't keep every first it was like it happened once a year, then it started to happen a few times a
Yeah.
year, then it was once a month, then it just started to happen every single day. I couldn't even get through dropping something without being, it was like I would go from a regular heart rate to being on adrenaline
Yeah.
for any reason. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into a whole story. I wound up going to this urgent care, and there was a PA there who was his first day there. So we did all these tests, EKG, and he said to me, because you're not going to believe this, but it's my first day here. I was 30 years working for a cardiologist who retired, and I'm looking at your EKG, and he said, I think you're fine. I think you need to go to a cardiologist, though. This is abnormal, and whatever he said. So the next day, I get to a cardiologist, and even the cardiologist was like, I think this is stress. You get heartache and stress and whatever. He goes, but we're going to do a Holter monitor, just not to worry. Puts a Holter monitor on, and it was like a Thursday or a Friday. I had to drop it off on Saturday, so I dropped it off. Didn't think anything, and I'm at Fun Day Monday. Right, it's early in the morning, and it's a busy, busy Fun Day Monday. And my phone rings, and I see it's the doctor's office. I figure I have to schedule another test, and the doctors, said, "Can you, doc?" The doctor I was seeing wanted me to meet him at St. Francis at his office there, and I said, "Oh, okay. Is everything okay?" And they said they didn't give me a lot of information, which, of course, I went into panic mode. And, I wound up going over there, of course, and they said that I had supraventricular AV nodal tachycardia. How do you like that?
Wow, I'm really impressed that you just spit that out. That was super impressive.
I researched that term for like 24 hours, 7 days a week, and I had to have a cardiac ablation. Yeah. I wound up going in, a few days later. They did the catheter, just like, you explained, Otto. And I think you probably had something very similar that what I had is it's the test first. They go in and they explore the areas. And then once they find the spot, they just like, I guess it's the radio frequency ablation. They just like tap the area and they basically kill that tissue where that, like, it's an electrical reaction, how in the heart. So I had 2 spaces. That was it. And I was just very lucky. They didn't even put me out for it, because if they put you out or sedate you, they're not able to locate this particular condition, because they want to see when your heart rate beats. And otherwise, if they did sedate you, they'd have to give you adrenaline. So I was awake the whole time. No sedation, Kristina. You too?
Yeah.
Wasn't that crazy?
The screen is
all
up
the
there
monitors and wires and
they talk to you, and it's like, you're in a picnic.
And I laughed, that day they did that little thing. I was in that room, maybe I was under an hour, and I was very lucky. I was, in this wonderful hospital, and with
that's where I was too, St.
Francis, Dr. Levine, the best doctor.
I had Dr. Israti and Dr. Menino.
Oh, okay.
at St. Francis. Yeah.
Okay. So, and thank goodness, and I was fine, but when I tell people this story, they're like, "You?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah. I mean, this is not that it's an anomaly, and they don't really know like why it happens or how it happens, and a lot of if I were older, they said, if people are older, sometimes they will just put them on medicine
Hmm.
and because they're not as active as someone younger who's going to the gym and's working 2 jobs and the yoga, all that kind of stuff. So they do this procedure. But yeah, it was that was an experience. So I agree with Otto. Here's an example of Otto that walking,
Hmm.
never had a problem before. Understood that something wasn't right, and his doctor also knew him well enough too. You know,
That's important
Yeah.
point, by the
very
way.
important.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I was lucky too because I went, I happened to I think if that PA who wasn't working for cardiology for 30 years saw me and I walked in, and by the time I got there, my heart rate was down, but I
Mhm.
explained to this guy what was going on. And he's like, you need further testing. And I feel like if I didn't see him, and because I think it was a weekend, I would not have had that kind of
Yeah.
guidance to get me there. So yeah, it's important for you to go to your doctor, know your doctor, and know yourself. If it's something's not feeling right, get it checked out.
Mhm.
You
Definitely.
know, you said something important to me too. You said know your doctor, but also I think have your doctor know you.
Yes.
Like Dr. Bruntis has been on our show.
Yeah.
She's my internist, and she knew me, and she
Yeah.
knew if I said something
Right.
that it probably was something, you know.
Right.
Uh, so it's important to have a good open dialogue
Hmm.
with your doctor is another message, all right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, talk honestly about what's going on with you. Let the doctor know who you are. I know it's difficult nowadays. You don't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of time, but
Right.
you can establish a line of communication in a pretty quick period of time with your doctor. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah,
The doctor's got
absolutely.
to know you. Like I joke here sometimes about if you don't talk to your doctor, you might as well go to a veterinarian. All right. It's the same story. A donkey can't talk to the doctor, and the veterinarian has to just figure out what's going on by the obvious signs that are there. But these signs that you talk about weren't obvious. They were
Right.
obvious when they were going on,
Hmm.
all right, to you and to me, but they're not obvious when you're in an environment where that's not happening.
Right.
Like you said, by the time you got to the urgent care place, it wasn't happening. By the time I sit down with the doctor, that tightness isn't there, you know, but it was there, and so was yours. The electrical system to me is one of these like it's like plumbing.
Hmm.
It's like a big mystery. You
Yeah.
know, you haven't.
It's
I
funny you
mean,
say that, Otto. My cardiologist said to me, there are two kinds of cardiologists, your plumber
Hmm.
and your electrician. And the doctor, the cardiologist I went to initially, he goes, I'm the plumber. I need to send you to the electrician.
Yeah.
yeah, but you
It's
don't
true
think
though.
about that
Yeah.
normally until you get involved.
So
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the electrical system is like an electrical system.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, frankly, like to me, the mystery of electricity or radio or all these different things flying through the air. Uh, you know, these are like you could talk to me and explain them to me 100 times, and I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I used to think when I was a kid, I'd say, "Oh my God, that's where. How do these sounds fly through the air?"
Right.
And I
I get
often
it.
thought if we could see everything nowadays, especially like you got Bluetooth and
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and all these things, they're flying through the air.
Mhm.
If somehow they could become visible, I don't know if we could see each other. Think about it.
It's true. I hear you guys. But listen, bottom line is, just pay attention to yourself and kind of be in tune. And, like it never hurts to get something checked out is really
Yeah.
the end of the day, and it's important to really do all these. And we actually have a segment that's going to be, I think it's the end of January. I think it's the last Friday in January. We have a doctor from Northwell Health who's going to be on, and her topic is staying informed and in control of your own healthcare, tips from your neighborhood general surgeon. So I certainly think that that's in line with what we're talking about. So that's January 27th.
All right, well, we actually have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear all about what's going on with the town, right, Kristina?
That's right.
We've got a lot going on. I'm sure there's a lot to report. So we'll be right back with Project Independence in You after this quick break.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lose, and of course, Kristina Liu and Dan Cox. We are in the final segment of today's show?
Segment, guys, yes.
Today did definitely fly by.
It's been such a long time since the three of us have all been together. So
I haven't been on in 4
weeks.
weeks. This is the first time.
Wow, I know.
Yeah.
It seems like. And we're at the end of the year already. It seems like we were just, in 2022. I just got used to writing it. You know what I mean?
But there is a lot going on.
What is going on, Kristina?
What is exciting is because it's the end of the year, it's fully holiday season. And the town of North Hempstead has a lot of great holiday celebratory kind of programs going on. Tonight is the winter holiday celebration over at the Yes We Can Community Center. That kicks off at 5 p.m. There'll be a whole bunch of fun little things going on. It's really good for the whole. Oh, Beck will be there. For the whole family to do. So definitely, I recommend checking that out. There's a Hanukkah festival on Sunday, December 18th at 3 p.m. over at Mary Jane Davies Green on Plandom Road in Manhasset. So check that out as well. So it's fun little kind of things to do. I always say, the holiday season goes by so fast. And I think it's important to take time to kind of do these little joyful activities. So definitely check that out as well. We have 2 different donation drives going on in North Hempstead, and I really want to remind people how important it is to certainly give back. And one of them is the Veterans Donation Drive, and this is going to go through December 31st, so you have some time. It's benefiting the Northport VA Medical Center's Hero Hunger Help Project. And they're asking for gift cards for ShopRite, Stop and Shop, CVS, and Walgreens. And then this will be distributed to all the veterans through the VA. There's a box at Town Hall, at the Village of New Hyde Park, at our office at Clinton G. Martin Park, and at Tully Park. You can drop it off. And you could also call 311. And we could arrange for a pickup if you can't get to any of those too. So it's just important. It's important to remember, I always say, throughout the year to do these things, but especially around the holiday season, to really just kind of keep what the spirit of the holidays is all about. There's also a Toys for Tots toy drive. They're asking for unwrapped and new toys. That's going to go until December 16th. And you could drop it off at Town Hall, Clinton G. Martin Park, the Yes We Can Community Center, the Port Washington Community Center, and Tully Park as well. So 2 little things. If you have any questions, you can call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get in touch with that. So also next week, it's next week already, isn't it, is our holiday party, our Project Independence holiday party. That is going to be on Wednesday, December 14th. It's going to be entertainment. It's one of my favorite programs of the year, I must say, because we get kind of all different PI members from all different groups and programs, and they come and join us. And it's really nice to have everyone in person together. So that's at Clinton G. Martin Park, December 14th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. There's breakfast, entertainment, holiday cheer. There's, of course, an optional grab bag if you want to participate in it. You must register, though, for this. So you have to call 516-869-6311 to register. Otto, I believe you registered for that.
Yes.
I saw your registration come in, so you were on the list for that as well. We talked about this last week, but Otto, I know you would appreciate this topic as well. The Project Independent social workers and nurses and our department met with an organization called CapTel, and CapTel is a totally free, you heard me, totally free program for people who have hearing loss. So it's a no-cost caption telephone. It's really incredible. We have a sample at our office now. Our social workers and nurses are actually able to sign off on the referral that will go to CapTel for them to install. So if you know someone that has hearing loss, or you yourself has, some slight hearing loss and would benefit from a phone like this, I really encourage you to call, because it was just so amazing. We knew about it, but to actually see it in action and kind of learn the ins and outs of it, it's just so incredible. I mean, like the new
because you could still use the receiver too,
yeah.
and read.
Yeah.
So if it's like Kristina was saying, it's hearing loss.
Yes.
Or not, or you could just read along.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that option.
And they have you're able to, which we thought was very interesting. Also, there's an app that's involved with it. You could actually access it from a laptop. So if you're not, at home, or you're traveling or something, you're able to. So there's so many different streams, and the people at CapTel are just incredible and really will work through walking you through the process of it all. So.
I think the message there is that there are so many things that can help you if you have a hearing problem, which I do. It's, you should do it. Take advantage of it. Why go through life? You have no idea. We preach this many times. You have no idea what you don't hear. That's the big thing about hearing. Vision wise, you have an idea that something's blurry. But when it comes to hearing, you do not know what you don't hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trust me. You don't know. I never knew water made noise when it came out of the tap until I got hearing
I always
aids.
remember you saying that. Yeah.
It's a simple example, but birds on the golf course. I never realized there were that many.
And it's such an incredible thing, and because there's an answering machine component to it. There's a caller ID, the amplified sound. You need like a Wi-Fi connectivity kind of situation. But it was just amazing to see. And I encourage you, even if you're not sure, at our office at Clingy Martin Park, we have a sample one there. So if you want to kind of just check it out, or have one of our social workers and nurses show you, you're able to do that too, because it's free. I mean, how great is that? That's just the best part, that you don't have to pay anything for it. You always think there's some kind of catch, but there isn't. I also just want to remind people that coming up, we have some great shows. Next week, we have on Barbara Paskoff and Carol Pack, who are the co-authors of Over 60 and Its Shades of Gray, the Book of Lists. They wrote a book many years ago. They were on our show, so this is their new book. So I'm curious to learn everything that will entail, and they're very funny too. So I'm excited for that. Then, of course, crazy, we have 2 weeks off because it's the holidays, which just came. Not sure where they came from, but they came really, really fast. And then in January, we're back in the new year with so many great guests and topics. So we have on a social worker who is the director of Stress Solutions New York, Bill Souls. He is going to talk about stress management in the new year. So we will start off our 2023, talking about stress management. So we're going to do that. And then we actually have a comedian will be on that same day in Talk of the Town, who's talking about laugh out loud comedy for seniors. So we'll have like a really, nice kind of day to come back. January 13th, we have on Karen Blackburn from AAA, who is going to talk about winter driving safety. On January 20th, we have on Ian Wilder, who is the executive director of the Long Island Housing Services, who is going to talk about Long Island Housing Services. And it's a really great resource. And our social workers, I know, use it a lot. So I'm excited to have them on. And then, as I had mentioned earlier, January 27th, we have Dr. Louie on, who is going to talk about staying informed and in control of your own healthcare, tips from your neighborhood general surgeon. So there's a lot going on. There's and I want to remind people, if you have missed something, you can't listen to it live, or you want to go back and see a great segment that we have, you can go to our YouTube, WCWP. All the videos are up, or you can go to the Project Independence website and you could see all the archived videos as well. And you could check us out on North Hempstead TV. If you were home, you could certainly. I know it's so great. Because I know Beck and I, will run into people at different things. Say, I saw you on TV, and it's really great to hear that people are out there watching, and it's great information. So that's just what's to come in January, and now we're booking February, so we are just flying along. But it's all really, really good stuff. So definitely. And if you have a suggestion for a topic that you want to hear about, please call 311. Or 516-869-6311, because I'm always interested in hearing, if you have a great doctor or an interesting person or whatever it might be, please call us, and it'll get passed along to me. So I'm excited for that. Beck, I know we are currently booking some exercise stuff. It's not finalized yet, right? The schedule,
Right.
But
So we are, this next week is the last classes for this 2022.
yeah.
We usually start up again in February. We have a shortage of instructors, so we're really looking and pushing to get some more instructors because now we're able to utilize a lot more of the facilities here. Mm-hmm. Before, we really had to get the biggest rooms where we could social distance and get in the most people. But now that we're not having to social distance and people are feeling a little bit more comfortable, certainly, if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask at whatever your comfort level is. But now we have the option, once again, to use some of the smaller spaces for some classes, Fischillo Park, and we're going to be using Camera Park too. We'll continue with Port Washington Activity Center and, of course, CGM and Tully Park. So we right now don't have the schedule. We're still mapping it out, but there will be a lot of classes. Everybody who has taken a class and anybody who's requested to be on the list will get an email and also a regular mail information about when to sign up, but there's no sign up now because we haven't established a schedule, but there will be one soon.
Yeah, but I think it's important that hopefully if you're listening or someone, that's in the fitness instructor world, that might be interested to certainly contact 311. Because it's good that we're able to add new classes, but in order to add new classes, we need, instructors. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. They do need to be certified and insured. And as long as there's that, you can call 311, just ask to speak with Rebecca Miller. Mm-hmm. I'd be happy to talk to anyone. Yeah.
I have a question. Are instructors volunteers or paid?
Paid. They're paid. They're paid. They're certified and insured. If somebody is certified and insured and wants to volunteer,
we'll take it.
We're not going to turn them away, but we might do a one-time thing. But yeah, they have to have coverage and have the proper certification, and also it's important that they've had some experience with seniors. The senior population. Mm-hmm. Zumba Gold. That's geared for the older population, gentle fitness classes, yoga, Tai Chi.
Great. Well, and they're still on North Hempstead TV.
Yes.
You can still access all of it. And I know a lot of people are certainly utilizing that because I see all the calls that come in for it. So I know Rebecca works really, really hard on the exercise program. And it's just nice to see, that we're building it back up because, we had to really revamp it during the whole kind of COVID height of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, we sure did.
That's that. And another program that is really important, Becca and I were talking to them yesterday, that we are partnering with EAC, provides respite. They also provide our social work services, and Meals on Wheels, of course. I mean, EAC, we've had on the show a bazillion times, but this in-home respite program is just really a wonderful service. And they're looking for both the people who can volunteer as a companion and then also, people who are in need of the service. So if you are paid to be a companion, So you visit once a week for a few hours, and you can share in conversation and activities. And this allows the caregiver to have time off to do what they need to do. Compensation is $15 per hour. You choose your own schedule and area. It's really good for people who are maybe retired and still wanting to, get some money. There's a training program. It's great too because you're matched. So, you kind of fill out something. There's, and that's the importance of it. We want to match two people together who, really fit and can benefit.
That's different from Neighbors Helping Neighbors.
Yeah.
Yes, Neighbors Helping Neighbors is just on the phone, a telephone call, and that's through PI, and you're not paid. That's just volunteers. But EAC's, respite program is you are paid for your services through EAC to do that work. So,
And there's an in-home regular schedule
yes, absolutely.
that you go to. Yeah.
So it's a commitment.
Right.
Yeah, yes, because and it's so incredible because I've seen the stories and the people that really have been a companion for a very, very long time. And it's and we're looking for in-home because once again that program kind of had to figure it out because people couldn't go in the house either.
I'm sorry, but a question on that: do the people who or the respite, what would be the right terminology? They give them a break.
Yeah.
Do they have to have the ability to maybe move a person if they have to be moved? Or...
No, so they're really not, and that's the clear thing. It's not, a medical situation, where
not like a health aid.
They're not a health aid, and that's it. I'm glad you asked that, Otto, because this is strictly just a companion kind of discussion, play a game, talk about something, whatever it might be, do a craft. They're not medical professionals by any means. So this
for
is
2 hours.
It's usually it's once a week for a few hours. So it's flexible. So I think it kind of depends on what is needed and what you're able to do. But there's it's when you apply for this, you meet with EAC, there's a training program, and you kind of talk about all these different things and what you're looking for, because as I had mentioned, we're just trying to find the correct matches for people. So,
and they do background checks and vetting.
Right, and there's a bunch of safety protocols I want people to be aware of too, that are certainly in place for this too. And if you're a Project Independence member, there's no fee for you to participate in this. So I encourage people to, if you know it, and this is something we talk about all the time, caregivers don't even necessarily identify themselves as caregivers most of the time. They just think they're taking care of their loved one, but they need a break too. And it's important for them to kind of have that and to be comfortable enough to do that. So it's a really wonderful, wonderful program. So please, if you know someone who is in need of services, or if you are someone that wants to give the services, please call 311 or 516-869-6311, because it's really a great program.
Great program. We really want to regenerate it and get people
absolutely
back.
And I think Beck and I talk about that all the time. We're still in this world, and we're lucky that we're able to kind of get things back to normal, with some speed bumps along the way. But I think that that's what all these organizations are trying to do, is trying to get back, up. And it's nice to see that we're able to do that. So please call 311. Also next week on Thursday, December 15th, we have a great health chat program, which is the importance of the healthcare proxy. Our nurse, Kelly Steinman, and social worker, Gail Sellis, are going to be doing a presentation on this at the Port Washington Adult Activity Center at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think people hear these things, they're not totally sure what a healthcare proxy might do or doesn't do, or what's the importance of it. So I think it's important to kind of go and learn about the specifics of it. So certainly check that out. The St. Francis cardiac screening, free cardiac screening van, will be on Monday, December 19th, and that is over at the Great Neck Social Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. No appointment is necessary. They're offering flu shots if you need a flu shot. Speaking of medical testing and whatnot, and the importance of these screenings, I love St. Francis because the fact that you do not need to make an appointment kind of takes some of the pressure off in a weird way. And you just go in, and I can't even tell you how many times they have seen something and, you know, said, all right, I think it's best for you to get further testing or go to the hospital. You know, people's blood pressure has been very high, certain people. So it's just, it's another kind of good little initial screening process to, you know, if you need, you know, further stuff to go. So it's our wonderful partnership with them is certainly great. We also have a bunch of our social groups are still meeting throughout December. You know, we'll resume in, you know, January, and we'll get those dates to you too. But we have our caregiver group, our social discussion group, our blood pressure and bingo group, our men's discussion group. I mean, the list goes on and on. Call 311 or 516-869-6311 for information.
Well, that's it. Great show, Kristina. Great guest, Otto. So good to have you on and hear your story.
Yeah, it's nice to be back with the whole family, guys.
Yeah, Dan too. So Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will be back next week. Take care, everybody.